So, these are my thoughts on the Wild Swans. So, this is based on a fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen, which is very closely resembles the Seven Ravens by the Brothers Grimm. So yeah, from a time when everyone was copying each other. So I don't know which version came first, but yeah, this was essentially the Seven Ravens. See my review of that movie to get a better idea what the story is, but it does have a slightly different beginning. So yeah, there's this royal family of kids. It's a bunch of brothers, a bunch of basically it's a bunch of clones, a bunch of brothers who look exactly the same. Some are a little taller than others. There's one who's like really small. And then they have one sister. And yeah, one day the king, their father, marries this lady who happens to be a witch, and yeah, she casts a spell on the brothers, turning them into swans, and she makes the sister ugly. And the way she does this is by, like, turning her black, basically. I guess she also makes her face kind of dirty, but, you barely notice the dirty face. It could have done this without making her black, is all I'm saying. Leads to some unfortunate implications, which I'm going to get to in a bit. So, yeah, the brothers fly away as the swans, and then the king kicks the daughter out of the house because he doesn't recognize her. Even though she sounds just like the daughter, and she assures him that it's her, it's like, no, you're not my daughter. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. So the girl lives with this old woman for a while, and then, she grows up. And then she happens across her brothers, and, and they're like, you're not our sister. Our sister was beautiful. You're ugly. Even though she still seemed, I guess beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, but, but yeah, to me, she still looks pretty attractive, just has dark skin, even though her hands and legs, it seems like just her face has turned dark. Her own brothers basically just, they're supposed to be these good guys that you're rooting for. They just basically told this, attractive, she's not ugly. And they say to her that she is ugly, and it's because she's black, isn't it? Yeah, that was the first scene. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in these animated movies I've covered that I haven't really been a fan of, but I think this might be the first moment in any of them that legitimately pissed me off. Like, guys are just horrible. Like, even if she was ugly, why would you just say that to anyone? Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Tennille Flowers and, her animation pilgrimage series. Her and her, I think it's her cousin, Sean. You know, a lot of times they talk about moments in these movies that don't hold up. And honestly, it kind of gets on my nerves when they do that. They just stop the review and they just start going on like, ugh, so offensive, ugh. And I'm not trying to, like, rip on them for this. It's, you know, if it bugs them that much, whatever. But, you know, it does get a little obnoxious after a while. But, whatever. I'm not here to, like, criticize them or anything. But yeah. I will say this. I have a feeling they're going to really really tear this moment a new hole, if you will. And let me tell you, go crazy. Just don't hold back. I agree with them on some of the things that piss them off, but yeah, this is one that really... Yeah, just go all out. This moment deserves your hatred. Okay, so then she finds this pool, or, you know, this, yeah, it's kind of a pool that, like, heals things, and, you know, she spends a long moment going like, oh, it might kill me, I don't want to do it. But yeah, after her brothers call her ugly, she just jumps into the pool, and even though she's fully dressed when she jumps in, she comes out naked. Yeah. And, somebody in the comments of the video pointed out the inconsistency about how she comes out naked when she jumps in fully clothed. Even though the brothers still have their clothes on when they change back from Swans. So yeah, So the brothers see her and they're like, oh, you really are her sister. Just... And then... Yeah, so, yeah, it turns out the brothers can turn back into humans at the, you know, by nightfall. So, yeah, and then they turn back into swans at the sunrise, yeah. And then the girl finds this, I think he's a raven, or, nah, I think he's a crow, actually. By the way, I do like the voice work on the crow. This is the English dub that I watched. And one thing I will give it is that the voice acting wasn't half bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't half bad. And I thought the crow had a pretty charismatic voice actor. Yeah, I didn't think the voice acting was bad, but yeah, the crow basically tells her to, make these shirts for the brothers out of nettles. So, yeah, I don't think the nettles was part of it in Seven Ravens, but yeah, essentially this is where the first half of the movie... Yeah, the first half of the movie is kind of its own thing, but the second half is where it starts to become Seven Ravens all over again. The only difference this time is that the shirts she has to make are made out of nettles, and, she... Yeah, again, like, she has to, remain silent. She can't talk to anyone. And then while she's stitching the shirts, this prince happens across her, and, he finds her beautiful, and then he just takes her into the castle without really giving her much of a choice. I mean, it doesn't look like she really said yes, but hey, Middle Ages, right? Back when women had practically no choice at all. I mean, say what you will about now, but I don't think they really had any say in any matter back then. Um, but yeah, so... And I'm not even gonna bother. It's the same story as Seven Ravens from there on. And yeah, there's this evil archbishop who, wants the prince, or actually he's a king, at least in the English dub. He wants him to marry his daughter, and, so yeah, he's gotta, like, have the main girl eliminated, and, yeah. And, yeah, and then the rest of it is just the same story as Seven Ravens. I'm not even gonna bother going into it. Just watch that review if you want the rest of the story. This movie sucked. I did not like it. Like, the animation was nice, about as nice as most of the other... Well, it wasn't even as good as, like, the earlier Russian movies, in my opinion, and, there were a lot of, like, technical errors. I don't know if this was, like, part of the dub. I understand if, like, the characters talk or saying, and, their lips don't match the, it doesn't match the audio, doesn't sync up, but whatever, that's kind of to be expected for a movie as old as this one, but, yeah, there are a lot of, like, animation goofs, and some things that just seemed really amateurish, for instance, there was this moment where, like, we see the archbishop roll out of bed in his pajamas, and then suddenly, like, he's fully decked out in his robes, like, his bishop robes. It just pops on him, and I guess what I was thinking, oh, well, this is supposed to be like a visual gag, I guess, because he's kind of a comedic character in a way, and then they happen across, he wakes up the king, prince, king, whatever, and same thing happens with him, and yeah, that's where it kind of loses that, because it's like, he's supposed to be kind of a serious character, so why would they do a visual gag with him? So yeah, they just yeah, I'll tell you what happened. They were lazy. Like, there's a whole bunch of lazy stuff in this movie, and also there's a scene where the evil witch, like, smashes a mirror, and, like, her reflection, like, takes on this weird shape and size, and it just doesn't make sense. And there's just so many animation issues with this, and yeah, what else? I mean, the only thing that stood out about this was, so this English dub was, I can't find anywhere when it was, when the English dub was done, but, judging by, like, the synthesizer music, and, not quite all-out 80s synthesizer, it kind of sounds like cheesy early synthesizer stuff, and, the songs are cheesy, but, I'd estimate probably, like, late 70s or early 80s, but yeah, the songs are very cheesy, but they're very catchy, and I think they're kind of well written, I think. There's a song I actually quite liked about, hunting these animals. I liked how it's, they're singing about how fun it is to hunt, how fun hunts are, except for the animals running, and I don't know, I thought there was some clever writing in there. I actually kind of like the songs. And yeah, they were very cheesy, but they saved an otherwise dreary movie. I mean, and yeah, this was just in the English dub. If I watched like the original Russian dub, it probably would have been like, just the same voice acting I'm used to from all these other Russian movies, and the songs probably would have been, generic, by Russian standards at least. At least that's what I think it might have been. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but and to be fair, some of the animation goofs might have had something to do with the dub. They had to like cut some things out, but well, I just don't know how you explain the part where the prince and archbishop are rolling out of their beds and just suddenly, appear in their normal clothes. I don't know how you explain that dub. But yeah, just pretty much all of the saving graces of this movie were seemingly due to the English dub. And yeah, if I watched the Russian dub, it probably would have been the same crap. It probably wouldn't have been horrible, but, the voice acting in the original Russian version is probably not bad. The songs probably aren't bad, but I can't picture how they would stand out. At least in the English dub, they stand out. And they give me something to enjoy in this really stupid movie. And, otherwise, everything else that's good about this movie is not really any better than, like, all the other Russian movies. Like, even the ones that I don't... Yeah, even the Russian movies that I didn't like Night Before Christmas, Frog Princess, even those movies, I couldn't deny they had very nice animation, and I'd probably say they were overall nicer than the animation in this one. And if you want to argue about that this one has like a faster pace to the animation, well, so did the more cartoony ones. And I really wanted to like this one because, like, it was nice seeing all these cartoony animated movies, but, I thought it would be nice to go back to the fairy tale style ones that we saw earlier. And, this is the second Russian movie I've seen that's based on a story by Hans Christian Andersen. The first was The Snow Queen. That movie was excellent, and I thought because, there might be some cultural differences with Russia and, Hans Christian Andersen, so I thought there might be some, the same kind of refreshing stuff in this movie, but no. And, yeah, like, what are the odds? You'd, like, do 2 movies based on a Hans Christian Andersen story, and what are the odds that one of them is just excellent, the other one is just complete crap? Like, okay, so this movie has a couple things that save it, but it's nothing that we didn't get from the other Russian movies. The only thing that makes this one stand out a little bit and makes it even remotely enjoyable is the stuff in the English dub, the voice acting and the cheesy synthesizer music and the songs. I did not like this movie. Yeah. And, I know there's some people who grew up with the English version and, they love it and all, but I just couldn't. Like, if you like it, that's fine, but I just couldn't bring myself to enjoy it. So, would I recommend this movie? Probably only to the people who grew up with it. Anyone who's not familiar, I would recommend you stay away from this one. I think the only thing that might help anyone enjoy it is the nostalgia. But I don't know, maybe you're interested in checking out all these Russian movies. Maybe you like the animation and all that. But, yeah. If you're curious enough, then sure, but otherwise, I would not recommend it. Me personally, at least. I mean, you can come to your own decisions, but me personally, I do not recommend this movie. And I give it a 3 out of 10. About time I rated a movie lower than 4 that, wasn't of the so bad it's good variety like Johnny the Giant Killer. Yeah, this is the first animated movie that I consider to be bad. Like, all the other movies had something saving them, but yeah, this one was just bad. It sucked. How could it be so polar opposite to Snow Queen? Ugh. From the same people who, well, maybe not the same people who made it, but the same company, based on the same author. Whatever, this movie sucked. Mash it and smash it, signing off.